What's up, bros? Welcome to the Men of Mind podcast. I'm Omar Bravo, and this is the podcast all about badass knack bros and their journeys through life. From the bad beats and the lessons learned to the mountaintop successes and advice they'd give their younger selves, this is your chance to get to know these bros better. In this episode, I talk with Edo Metovic, Ada Chapter Mu class number 73 from Santa Clara University. Orale.
How are you, brother?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I love how everybody always wears the uniform. It's great.
Oh man, bro, these are my crossing letters.
These are your crossing letters.
My actual crossing letters Eugene gave me. Yes.
So what is the how old is that shirt then? What year did you cross?
Oh man, you put me on the spot. 2008 it has to be, because we started 2000 set. Bro, I crossed.
I think that's close. I think that's close.
I think that's around then. I crossed around then. I'm gonna tell you that. Man, I didn't expect that. I should have probably prepped that. You know what's funny? I got 9 in my class. We started off with 13. A wandering group of 13 ended up with a united group of 9. So I made sure to remember that. All my line bros, but it's like, what year did you cross? Oh man, you got me.
It's funny, bro, because when I first hit bros up or whatever, they're like, I don't think so. I don't think I'm too interested or whatnot. And they're like, what kind of questions do you ask? I'm like, dude, I'm not a investigative reporter. I'm not trying to.
I know, but it's like, you can't really prep for this. So in trying to prep as best I could, I watched you like a Netflix show. I just binged watched everything. So I realized it's really, you're just catching up with bros. You know what I mean?
Honestly, that's
and I get it.
I think there's I think a number of bros kind of project onto it what they want, right? They're like, oh, you're doing like a historic anthology, some sort of documentary or whatnot, and it's like, yeah, if that's what it becomes, then good, so be it. But really, my main motivation was to catch up with bros. It was like, damn, I when we were undergrads, I loved these folks. And life happened, and I know they're probably doing well, but I need an excuse to come find them, and that's the number one motivation. And I think from that perspective, at least for me, I don't know how everybody feels, but I think it's been wildly successful. And I know that I was kicking it. I had a chance to kick it with Fabio on a cross country road trip. We went through I ran through his hometown, so I got to kick it with him and his fam for an afternoon, and we were talking about how he listened to the episode with Lo. And he's like, it was beautiful. It's like I hung out with Lorenzo for a whole hour.
I love to hear it. I you know what's funny? I know a decent amount of stories about our bros, right? But listening to the episodes, you get reintroduced to certain things, and then you get you find out facts that maybe you didn't know before, if that makes sense. Like there's certain stories to an extent, but when you hear it straight from a bro's mouth and he explains it in detail, there's been a lot of stuff that I didn't know about certain bros. There's certain artists that I didn't know that other bros like that I like, because you do, you know what I mean? Like you do this 5 artists thing, like the dinner thing. Like there's certain things that I realized looking at everything. I'm like, yeah, I know my bros a decent amount, but even rewatching it, it's opened up a whole nother, a whole nother lane of things that I just either forgot about or didn't quite know about a bro that you kind of learn about. So it's been super eye-opening for me, man. Super.
Yeah, it's been a blast. I've got on my list of things to do to go through and actually make a list of all the bros, like 5 artists or whatnot, because a lot of times it's like I'll resonate and I'll be like, yeah, I love them too. But there's plenty of times where bros throw out authors and I'm like, I haven't even heard of them. And so I want to be able to give folks a chance to like go look them up or go just have that list and learn from each other. There's no reason why I learn from everybody every day. There's no reason I shouldn't learn from these fools too.
Absolutely. There's a bunch of, like I said, well, hopefully as the conversation progresses, we'll get into it more, but there's just a bunch of stuff I didn't know that you did with like just different art stuff along the way. Like just watching with certain episodes with like Ruben or Ricardo, just like how they got into Photoshop starting out, like reminds me of like my coming up to like being a musician, but also like being heavily into graphic and art, doing art early on as a kid. Like, again, just ways where I'm like, man, I got to hit up this bro and reconnect, because I didn't know he's doing such and such thing, or they're into this thing. So it's been, like I said, eye-opening at the very least, but I feel like it's a cheat code, dude. I feel like the new I feel like the new kids coming in or the new guys coming in, they're not gonna have to pick up the phone and call us anymore. They're just gonna play your podcast and learn everything they need to know. And
Yeah, if it could become that, I would be absolutely honored, man, because I feel like so many other orgs and so many other folks have that already, and for us not to, we're at a disadvantage. So if that's what it comes down to, then good. I would love to hear that story too. There's no reason why we shouldn't, you know. Another thing that's been super beneficial, or that has really motivated me, is like a week or two ago, Lisandro hit me up for Mario D's cell phone number or whatever, and it's like, because he heard the episode and he's like, I have got to connect with this fool, I've got to reconnect, and to hear that those connections are actually that it's motivating folks to actually reach out. Because it's easy, man. Just send a text. Like, we don't got to move in together. We don't got to be college roommates again. Like, just send a text and say Happy Father's Day or whatever.
That's right.
It doesn't take that much. So, yeah, man. Thank you so much for making time. I know you're a busy guy like everybody else, and so let's go ahead and get to the first question, which is: married with children, or single and ready to mingle, or somewhere in between?
Single for sure and ready to work.
For sure.
Yeah. Mingle, sure, but I'm too broke today right now, dude. I gotta keep working.
Talk to me about work. I see the tables and the mixers and the keyboards. Where are you right now? Are you in your home? Is this your home studio? Is this a work studio?
This is my home studio in Los Angeles. I've got a studio in the Bay Area as well, but it doesn't have as nice of a view. But no, man, this is my domain in LA. I had to make a decision I didn't have to make a decision. I decided a long time ago. I thought to myself, like, in the scheme of things, let's say you make it, right? Or I had to think about what was my vision of making it. Like, if I had all the money in the world and I could do whatever I want, whenever I wanted, what would be like, okay, you made it. Sorry, this thing keeps shaking. And I realized early on, it's like, I like to make music. I enjoy making music. It allows me to work with people. I'm not necessarily the front artist all the time. I'll do production. I'll do recording engineering. I'll songwrite, make beats, stuff like that. But I realized I really enjoy making music. I love California. I love being able to be in LA, but close enough to family who's all based in the Bay Area. So early on, I decided, like, I didn't need a ton of money. I just needed enough money to cover the bills, to allow me the freedom to be able to create. And then I would kind of figure stuff out along the way. And it's been that for, like, since I moved in, man. It's been almost 8 years since I've been to LA. I haven't really quite figured it out yet. I mean, I'm still, like, rent's paid. I'm not worried about nothing like that. I've been able to collect a cool bunch of, like, synths along the way and, like, gear and build up. And I'm still learning. But early on, I decided, like, my vision of making it was be able to wake up, do something creative. It doesn't have to always be music, but at least if it's something creative, music's always there for me. Obviously, like, this is all just a click away. This is kind of like my living space. I have a living room area there, kitchen in this area, living space back there as well, to, like, actual bedroom and all that stuff. So I live in it, man. I realize, like, every day, like, the only thing that's going to change is the gear might get a little cooler. The spot might get a little bigger. Like, say if the money gets more, but the lifestyle is not going to change much for me. I want to be able to kind of wake up every day, do what I feel like, which is be creative, be close enough to family where I can visit when I want to. And yeah, man, I think that's kind of what this has turned into. Like, I still have my studio in San Jose. So when I do go to visit, it's sort of right there. Family's there. My younger brother's still using that daily. So he's recording all the time. He's lived out here with me before too. My older brother's lived out here with me before too. So this place has been a spot. Bros have stayed here before. When I first moved out here, I wasn't staying out here a ton. So I've had bros crash here for like a week at a time when I wasn't using the spot. So it's been my base outside of San Jose. That wasn't quite New York, because I was in New York prior to this as well, after the Bay Area. So it was sort of like it was coming back from New York and kind of figuring out, okay, I don't want to stay just in San Jose. I don't want to go to New York because it's too far. Not too far, but not close enough where I can pick up and go on the weekend. You kind of have to plan just a little bit more in advance if you want to go visit family. So it wasn't bad, but it became sort of like my hub. And man, I'm happy. I still learn every day. I haven't, in that sense, I guess I've made it. Like I said, the only thing that can change is maybe the money gets bigger, but that's not going to change lifestyle much. You know, you reach a certain point where you're able to be where you want to be with who you want, and not, you know, things, the things you can acquire, the places you can go, I guess, change a little bit. But besides that, it wasn't like a big money thing for me, or like a huge, like, I needed to be famous or anything like that. If it happens, that's cool. But I'm super happy, like, being able to wake up every day and be creative. So it's sort of the situation here. And I still am, like, I still contract to this day. I do, you know, odd jobs here and there. I have some more regular stuff. You know, I'm doing a lot of photography, still do a lot of photo work, some video work as well, you know, marketing, and then sales as well. Like it's a little bit of everything, but, you know, music's been in the forefront. It still is. It always will be. And even here, I kind of keep this as my personal studio. I suppose I could rent it out and, you know, turn this into more money too. But there's certain things I like to just kind of keep to myself, have my own, like, getaway. But yeah, if that kind of answers it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Are you working for a company, or are you just straight freelance?
Straight freelance.
And
like,
have been for how long?
Oh man, since I left Apple.
Since '08 or no?
Oh man, yeah.
10?
I mean, I left 2012 maybe.
Okay.
Because I graduated 2011. My first job out of college was Apple. And when I quit to move to New York, there was no, I mean, I worked with people, but like not for a company, if that makes sense. Like, I'm still 1099, I think it is. I got to figure out. Yeah. All right. So yeah, independent contractor, just figuring it out. I was doing it kind of run and gun. 2015, 2016, I actually established an LLC. Got a few trademarks under the LLC for like merchandise and clothing, and then have used that LLC and anything creative, kind of like switched to like a multimedia company, as well as we do merchandise, clothing as well. But switched essentially to like multimedia, so I could take jobs where I built websites for, you know, watch companies. I'm working with a watch company right now, working with a diamond company right now as well, Lab Diamonds. I'm building their website. So it's decent. It pays the bills, and it gives me the time to do more of the stuff that I want to do. But yeah, man, I've run and gun freelance since I quit Apple back in 2012.
So that's 10 years, bro. Like, to be a solopreneur, as I'll call you. I think you're like the definition.
Yeah, single member LLC, solopreneur.
Yeah, you're the definition of solopreneur. You're not trying to be in partnership. You're not trying to hire a bunch of people. You're paying all your bills, and you're doing well. You're doing for yourself. To do that for 10 years, that's a lot of people's dreams, bro. Like, I work with so many aspiring entrepreneurs, or entrepreneurs as they call them, and not very many make it past, I don't know, a year.
Don't get it twisted, bro. There's many, that window right there. There's many a times where I'm sitting there thinking like, fuck, man, how am I going to pay rent this month? Early on, bro, was not easy. Not easy. That's
every business owner, right? I mean, but most business owners don't get past that, and then they go get a regular gig, right? They don't solve that problem. They just, oh, well, you know what? This was too hard, or it's not what it was all cracked up to be. I mean, 96% of all small businesses fail.
I've thought about that. I've thought about that a lot. It's because as you struggle on the journey, there's friends and family and bros too that have gotten really good gigs at like corporate companies. And bro, they say their salary or what they do and this, and like, it all seems super appealing. And even if sometimes I sit there, I'm like, man, that's even if it could be a substantially more money, it's not what I want to do. It sounds so crazy, but even if I had the cushiest, it's not what I want to do. It's not where I want to end up. I'd rather, it's weird. Maybe I'm like, even in college, at Santa Clara, I like double majored throughout the whole time up until the end. I ended up with a major and a minor, but I don't know, man.
What was your major and minor?
I was a finance major and I was a music major for the whole time there. So I did a dual degree the whole time there. I had to take both cores all up until the last year where I was like, the degree in music sets you up to teach music. And I wasn't trying to like be a teacher of music. And I had learned so much music theory. I had learned so much for what I wanted to do. It was like an additional, like, I want to say like 6 to 8 classes of like music history, heavy music history of like, and like, there was some more theory. Yeah. But it was real stuff that like, you would set me up to like be able to teach music to a class that didn't necessarily benefit music production or kind of like the stuff that I wanted to do. So I ended up with the music minor, but I say that to say like I not self like not self-discipline. I'm blanking on the word here. It's almost like I punish myself with extra work for no reason. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me, but all throughout college and then even now, like I said, if I could have a cushy job where I'm making double what I'm making, but it's a corporate gig and I'm not working for myself and I get a paycheck at like a paycheck that's not like it's different when you're a contractor and you're doing gigs or deals versus like a constant. I just wouldn't want it. I can't explain it. I think I'm a little weird in that department.
I think you're the classic solopreneur where you get to make the creative calls, because if you had to sit there and just make whatever websites for whoever, or you were a digital pixel pusher all day long, and it's like, no, that doesn't fulfill me. I don't want to. It's like if they have you writing jingles for used car sales shops or whatever, it's like, that's not what I want to do with my morning. I would rather make less money and work on something that's meaningful as opposed to not. Like, granted, you got to pay bills and you got to keep a roof over your head and you don't want to, live on the street, but there's more than two options. It's not binary. It's not, a 7-figure salary and or you're destitute. Like, there's that middle ground where you get to call those shots. And I think that's the legitimate benefit. Does it come with more risk? Is there more uncertainty? Sure, but it's got to cost something, right?
Absolutely.
That creative freedom has to cost you something, and that's what it costs you. But as long as you're down for the hustle, it's not rocket science, right? It's just elbow grease.
Elbow grease for sure. I think that elbow grease has got to be my mantra, man. I never thought I was particularly like smarter than anybody else in school, but I had straight A's since like 6th grade, graduated college with honors, but it was the elbow grease. It was not like shit came to me easy. It's not like I was like whiz kid passing tests, no problem. It was me sitting in McLaughlin Walsh lobby till like 2 a.m, studying, and then driving home, going to bed, waking up at 6 to be back at school at 8. It's for sure elbow grease. I think I'm stubborn in that way, where I should have maybe taken like stuff that's like a little bit easier, but I think I like a challenge, almost to a fault.
So let's talk about that. Where did that work ethic come from? Where'd you learn that from?
Oh, for sure, my mom. For sure. My parents are both immigrants, but my mom to this day works like nobody's business. So if she can still do it, I've got to still be able to do it. She's still working just as hard as she was ever since I could remember, since being a kid. So for sure her. And like both parents are immigrants, man. So you learn a lot of stuff from that too. Like, you learn work ethic, you learn different types of ways to save, you value things differently. I think I learned a lot from them growing up. And then, watching your podcast too, there's a lot of stuff I learned wrong. And you spend a lot of your 20s unlearning all that stuff and learning all the right stuff. Like, that's absolutely true. That couldn't resonate more, man. But the work ethic, the thing is too, it's like, I've worked with people as an independent contractor throughout the time, like this glasses company that I worked with in Newport Beach. I'd actually, did a few of their product shots for them, did a few lifestyle shots for them, helped them out with their website. This is back in the day, probably 2018. But one of the gentlemen there that works there still shows up to work every day in his Ferrari, albeit, but he's like 83 years old, dude. Just loves it. I saw that and it clicked. I was like, oh, there are people who just like to work. Like, there are people who just like get a joy out of like being productive, doing something versus like, what are you going to like? And I, I remember thinking like, oh, you're going to work hard, get through college, get a good job. And then man, if I retired, I'd go crazy after 2 weeks. I wouldn't know what to do with myself, man. I got to have something to do. And seeing that, like it's not, seeing my mom work as hard as she does, working as hard as I do, and then seeing that there's other people that have all the money in the world still show up to work. They're the first there and still the last to leave. People that don't have to work at all, showing up to work because it gives them something to do and it gives them a purpose and they enjoy it, man. I think that's kind of where I'm at. So I don't mind struggling along the way as long as what I'm doing is building a big foundation toward where I know I want to be.
The retirement question is always really interesting because I've seen so many different angles on it. I've seen folks work their fingers to the bone, retire, and then like die within 6 months or have some serious medical stuff. I've seen folks work their fingers to the bone, retire, and then not have enough money to do anything. So it's either health prevents them from like living their best life, or the finances prevent them, or they find out that they don't have any hobbies or motivations, and so they just end up sitting there watching Fox News or whatever that they do. And I look at it, and then you with regards to the folks that you talk about who it's like they love to work. I don't know if it's work anymore if you don't have to do it, right? If it's like, hey, no, I want to go here and I want to do this because it makes a difference and it makes the world a better place, right? It's like, it's not about the money. It's about, if I keep doing what I'm doing, then that means that these folks keep being able to have a job with my company. And that means that they get to feed their families and that they get to send their kids to school, and then their kids get to grow up and make the world a better place too. So I'm still contributing to the greater good. Or I'm still creating something creative. I'm contributing to something. Now, I feel like the folks who retire and sail around the world and live their best lives, it exists, but it's far and few between. Because it requires great health and it requires a bunch of money, and those two things. That's what the marketing teams sell you about retirement. But how many people have I seen actually execute on that? Nah, it's pretty far and few between. I've seen it in my family a number of times, but outside of that, when Bonnie and I were working on my wife and I were working on the cruise ships, we'd pull into port and all these old people would get off on their walkers and their wheelchairs and they'd go up and down the pier and shop at the little shops. And me and Bonnie would go ziplining and whitewater rafting and hiking and rock climbing and doing all this crazy stuff. And these guys saved up their whole lives living in, I don't know, Michigan. And then they went on a retirement cruise to Florida, and they could barely enjoy all of it. It's like, do it now, bro.
I agree with you, man. I don't know if I'm sold on that whole thing. Work, and then enjoy the last bit of it, because you're not promised that last bit of it.
You're not promised tomorrow.
There you go, man. Like, couldn't have planned that better, right? You're not promised tomorrow, dude. So I agree, man. I've it's this weird thing I saw one time, and I actually spent the time to fill it out. It's like a bubble chart. I think the website's waitbutwhy.com. If not, you can look it up. It's just essentially it's your life in weeks. And it takes your life and it breaks it down into 52 weeks, and it's got 90 rows of that. So if you make it to 90, your life fits on a single 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that you can fill up every week. You can fill out a bubble. And I'm looking at that sheet, dude. I'm a third of the way done.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a third of the way there, brother, already. And I'm lucky to be there. I think about that every day. I keep that thing in my backpack, and not every week I fill it out, but a month will go by and I'll see kind of where I'm at, and I keep filling it out. And it's a reminder, dude, if I'm lucky to make it to 90, a third of it's already gone. So, man, the ability I don't mind hard work if it's something that's rewarding. So the ability to do work every day and enjoy yourself every day, as opposed to do something that you don't like for a huge chunk of your life, and then maybe you get to enjoy the last chunk. I'm not sold, dude.
It's not a good bet. It's not a good bet.
I agree.
That's a bad bet.
It's not a good bet, man. So if you find, even if it's a little more struggle in the beginning, you got to do a little bit more work in the beginning, or you might not have as much like I said, man, I remember sitting thinking like, dude, like, pay rent or get like, eat this food. Like it was struggle times, dude, but it was I'd rather that. I remember never wanting to go back there. I remember doing everything in my power to never feel like that again. And I never have, I'll say that. But I remember that, bro. There was that one time where I was just like, yo, this is not all it's cracked up to be. Going back to what you said like living the dream, that's 10 years. That's a lot of people's dreams. It's
To
not
make
all
it. Their dream is to make it.
I get you. The dream is to make it, but like you said it before, and I've heard it on a few of your other podcasts, and it's so true, man. It's not all it's cracked up to be, and you work a lot more than you think, a lot more than a 9 to 5 and forget about it after you're done. But again, it's for a certain type of person. I think I fall into that weird category. I think my mom's there too. Like I said, like it keeps you busy, but it's for me, it's like enjoyable. Like I said, if it were something that I didn't like to do, I can't imagine doing it. But every day I get to be creative. Every day I get to do something that's like fun. But man, for sure there was times where it's like, oh, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, man. Is there something else out there that makes more sense? But God willing, like, thank goodness I've been able to kind of sort of figure it out along the way for sure. But I think about it often, dude. It's a blessing, but man, it's been tough for sure.
Let's go back to your parents. They immigrated. I've heard rumors of your story, but I'll get it straight from the man. Where are your parents from?
So they're born and raised in former Yugoslavia in Montenegro. So my dad's from a part in Montenegro called Bar, literally spelled Bar, and it's Bar, Montenegro. And then my mom's from a part called Ulcin. And they're pretty close to each other in terms of like in Montenegro in general is not very big. I think the total population of Montenegro is like 600,000 people.
Oh, wow.
So there's more people in San Jose than there are in my whole country. But they immigrated to San Jose back in like 87. Very not common or typical, but I guess it's like, the immigrant story. They came with like 2 suitcases and $2,000, and they borrowed money from a relative here. I think it was my dad's cousin, to put their first down payment on their first home. And the first thing they did when they came out here was not look for a spot to rent. The first thing they did was borrow money from a family member to put the down payment on their first home. And, I hear stories from my parents all the time. They talk about that first year. They didn't go out anywhere. They didn't spend money.
How old were they?
Man, I got to think. My mom was must have been in her early 20s, and my dad was 28, I think. So my mom was like 23, 22, somewhere around there. And dude, that first year, I remember my mom telling me like they worked at the time. I think my dad was doing odd jobs in construction. I don't think he had like a solid construction gig yet. And my mom was doing like, I think she was like cleaning up at hospitals and also catering at hospitals. Again, like just random like jobs that she could get before she started. When she moved here, when they immigrated, she was pregnant with my older brother. So they came here, she was pregnant already. They moved here. They got that first house, that down payment. And like I said, that first year, my mom tells me stories about like, they had cloth diapers for her newborn because they couldn't afford diapers. So, my older brother, like he's a baby. He goes to the bathroom. You're washing and then of course, no washing machine, no dryer. So all the laundry, including like dirty diapers, are getting washed, hung in the backyard, on the clothesline. We had a chicken coop too in San Jose. We were that family with in the backyard, had a chicken coop. We had chickens. That's how we got our eggs. To the right of that, we still have the chicken coop to this day. We still have the house to this day. To the right of that, we have a garden still to this day. No chickens anymore, but the coop is still there for sure.
It cracks me up hearing it, because it's like you guys were just way ahead of the fashion, because now all the super crunchy moms spend ridiculous amounts on cloth diapers, and every suburban mom's got a chicken coop. Like you guys are just ahead of the
back then,
curve.
bro. It was necessity. It was a luxury to buy eggs and diapers. It's like here you had your eggs, you had your diapers, you had and I'm talking like my mom's hand washing stuff, and then it's like she tells me stories about how she was cleaning up on floors where there was hospital floors. There was like a lot of death, a lot of just like sad stuff, where she was like to the point where she's like, I can't handle this mentally. And the other thing was she was pregnant with my older brother. She could not fathom dropping him off at daycare. She could not fathom the idea of like leaving him alone with somebody else. So she started a daycare that she still runs to this day.
That's immigrants.
To this day, bro. And I mean that put that with my dad, like them two, they put me through Santa Clara. They the whole story of like just working hard. But that house still to this day, back then, man, I think it was like a little over 100 grand for that house in San Jose, right off of like Bascom and San Carlos and Stevens Creek, that area.
And
right
now it's like
Santa Clara, bro.
1.5.
It's got to be over $1 million. I don't know exactly how much, but for sure over $1 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, they tell me that story. They worked so freaking hard that first year where they paid off that loan that before the year was done back to their cousin, or to my dad's cousin, I should say.
Why did they leave Montenegro?
It was the war, the Bosnian War, the Serbian-Bosnian War.
It's a good reason. That's a really great reason. Yeah, it was
like the wartime, like in the 90s. I don't know if you were familiar with that, like going on around that time. But it was right around wartime. Yeah, they got out right before it got crazy. Like I said, they had one cousin, or they might have had more family I'm not aware about here, but they had some family out here. My mom actually was back and forth as a younger girl too, in San Jose. So she was back and forth, but she ended up back in Montenegro, got married to my dad, and they both ended up immigrating here. My dad for the first time at 28, and my mom maybe the third time back to the States at like 23.
So in Montenegro, they were considered. You would consider them like middle class, or?
I don't know enough. I don't know enough rich people in Montenegro. Everyone I know in Montenegro lives off the land. You know, I think the average income there at the time, it might be different now, but it was like €300 a month. Like you didn't need to make a lot to live out there. But no, like talking to my dad more and like hearing more of his story, like I saw videos. I've never been, but his first house, like that my grandparents had with him, was like dirt floors in Montenegro on a hill, like that they built. You know what I mean? Like village style. Like, and then they have a house now that's near what's called Stara Maslina, and in Montenegro, and that just means old olive. And it's an old olive tree. If you look it up, it's over 2,000 years old, and it's still standing. And we have a house that's like right by there that was my grandparents' house that's still in the family, I believe. And then we have a house near there's like 4 beaches in Montenegro that are kind of like known around. And we have like a house kind of out there. But again, at that time, I think you could buy a house for like $15,000, some crazy cheap like that. And if you were working in the States and you were going back to visit, it wasn't hard to like buy a foundation and start something out there. It's changed much more now. It's a lot more expensive now. But yeah, man.
So have you been back a bunch, or have you ever been back?
Yes, not as often as I should or I want to. I went back when I was 1. I turned 2 there, and then I went back, I want to say one more time when I was 12, 13. I'd have to like double check. I'm not 100% sure. I think I've been back twice. I can't remember if it was a third time or not. And if it was, I was too young to remember, but I've only been back twice. It's been over 15 years since I've been back. My cousin's out there right now. He's a teacher, actually. I talk to him about a lot because we talk about like what is the ideal life, right? So he's a teacher. He's a substitute teacher. And we talk about this all the time. He goes, listen, man, I'm a substitute teacher. He goes, I'm not going to make as much as some people make. And I realize that. I already know that. He goes, but I love my job. When I'm at work, I enjoy my job. I enjoy working with kids. And every year I have 3 months off where I have the ability to go back to Montenegro. Every summer, that guy spends 3 months in Europe. And even when he's there, he's like, look, bro, it gets boring. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? You know, there's stuff to do. There's nights to go out. But even when you're out here, there's always pros and cons. But he inspires me to realize, and again, it's just a reminder, dude, it's about lifestyle. It's about your everyday lifestyle. It's about how good you're living every day. Not about, don't get me wrong, work hard and plan, but it's not about work hard, plan, and no play because you're thinking at the end of something that it's going to, you know, it's all of a sudden, all at once, everything gets better. It never happens like that. As I've learned with everything, it all compounds. As long as you're doing something right and you're working hard every day and you're working towards something, something's going to give. But it's never all at once. It's never come all at once. It's always sort of been sort of like a slow build. And that's both positive and negative. You know what I mean? I don't remember the details of it, but like you can do it one small bad habit every day in the course of a year. You're going to be, you know what I mean? Like it's going to compound negatively too.
Yeah, you can eat a donut and a Coke every day and you're not going to get fat tomorrow, but at the end of the year.
Absolutely, brother. Think about that. And it's like I forget who it said it, man, it's probably a very famous figure or whatever, but it's like your habits will predict who you become. And I'm butchering the exact words, but it's like, show me your habits. I'll show you, you know, who or what you'll become. Your habits are a good predictor of your character, of the person that you're going to become. So same idea, dude. Even if you go to the gym, like, yeah, it might not be the biggest thing, but you're trying every day. You're showing up every day. Like, you might not get ripped overnight, but like 3, 4, 5 years, it's going to make a difference, man.
And the whole being ripped thing is only important like in the short term when you're young. In the long term, it's the difference between, hey, are you going to be in a wheelchair at 60, or are you going to be in a wheelchair when you're 90? Because it's like, hey, I've got older brothers and sisters who can out hike anybody, and they're in their 70s, and I also know people in their 60s who can't walk.
Yep.
So it all, sooner or later, somebody's got to pay the piper.
My dad says, I forget who it was. It was this older gentleman that he talked to when he was a younger kid, and it was he was super active. He's like, listen, man, I just don't want to suffer when I get older. We all got to get old and die. I just don't want to suffer when I'm older. So I'm going to try to be active now. And it's like, it's that idea of like, man, even as a young guy, like there's certain injuries from like high school football that still, you know what I mean? Like still get to me where I'm like, no, man, it's about like, to a point, you want to like look good. You don't want to get short, like overweight, if you will. But for real, it's about the health. It's about how good do you feel? Like, how good do you move? Like, are you able to stand on your feet all day? Like, even myself, man, there's certain days where I'm like, I just got a standing desk. That thing changed my life, dude. I didn't realize, like, if you don't pay attention, you just start standing and working. As long as you're first day, it was like 4:36 p.m. before I realized, I'm like, I haven't sat down once today. So, you know what I mean? You make little changes, but just trying to be active, trying to be healthy, because I see it too, man. Like, I've seen, my grandparents and then even my parents, like, differences in taking care of yourself and not taking care of yourself. Like you said, you'll have someone be 70, 80, 90 feeling great, and then someone in 50, 60 barely moving. It's not good, man. You gotta keep healthy just for your own sake. Be able to move and feel good and live life.
Yeah, and I think at some point it even grows bigger than that into, so I'm 42 and I've got a 1-year-old. My youngest is 1. So that means when he's 20, I'm going to be 61, right? When he's 20, he's going to want to do stuff like, hey, Pops, we should go on a ski trip, or we should do this, or we should do that. I can't be, decrepit when I'm 60. I got to be able to, absolutely, let's go surfing in Maui. Let's go do stuff. Right. I mean, it becomes about more than you, and not only just the fun stuff, but there comes a point where, hey, sooner or later, somebody's going to have to take care of you. Do you want them taking care of you when you're 75 or when you're 85 or when you're 90? Right. I mean, somebody's going to have to help you go to the bathroom and crazy stuff like that. And so taking care of yourself and your health, and, it's like, yes, we can, that whole idea of back to retirement. I've got all this money, but I can't go anywhere cool. Or I got all this money, but I can't climb to the top of anything to see it.
Dude, I think about that all the time. Like you said, you want to be active for your kids. My parents are on my head. Like, my brother just had his 3rd son. So I'm an uncle times 5 now. I was just in the Bay Area, actually Sacramento, where he's at, to visit him. And my mom's holding my brother's son, my nephew. And she's, of course, looking at me. She goes, I hope the next one's yours. And I'm like, Mom, with due time. But they give me the whole spiel, like, yo, you're going to be too old. You're not going to be able to move. You're not going to be able to. I go, no. That might be for you. I'm working out at 30. So I don't know what you were doing, but I'm at the gym every day. I'm trying to be like what you said earlier, like at 60, I'm trying to be active, man. You want to go, throw the ball. You want to go fishing, whatever it is. Like, let's go. Like, again, the guy that I talked about earlier that's working in his 80s, not to say do this, but he had a kid at 69.
Sure.
He's still active. He's in 83. His daughter's like a teenager now. I'm not recommending that. But I do realize that if you're active, if you're still healthy, if you're still doing your thing, this guy's 83 and he's more active with his teenage daughter than people who are, in their 20s and 30s that I've met, that I've known, that just, it has nothing to do with your age and everything to do with your mindset and your health. Of course, eventually, man, age is going to catch up, but you got to fight that. That's why you're in the gym every day, bro. Like, you got to fight that early on, man. Start early.
That's it. Tell me about coming up as with immigrant parents living in San Jose. Obviously, San Jose is a pretty diverse place, but I guarantee you there ain't that many folks from Montenegro.
We have enough family out there. I think that's why they chose San Jose too. And it's not like a ton, but I would say like dozens of people. I know dozens of people, which is
That's a lot.
which is a lot, right? And again, I think that's because, like, let's say like a family friend moved with their wife, and then they had 3 kids, and then another. So very quickly you become dozens. But I'm talking about families. You know what I mean? But I do have cousins, and then my parents have their cousins that are out there too. So it's like my second or third cousin, if you will. But no, there's definitely a community. And then there was a point where my dad was working at construction. I don't know if it's still called Vasona Construction. It was Vasona Construction at the time. I don't know, man. San Jose for sure definitely had its own community, because there was a time my dad actually ended up in like the newspaper back home in Montenegro, because he had hired over like 200 Bosnians to work for his company, or the company he was working for. So it was like, that's 200 people.
200.
You know what I mean? I know it's over the course of like years, but like, and it was a big construction company, but it was like, Bosnia, Montenegro, Serbia, Croatia, that's all used to be former Yugoslavia. So you only know so many people when you come, or you only know so many places to go, because there's maybe small niche communities out in, like, I know originally my first cousin were out in Chicago. There's for sure communities in Chicago, big communities in New York. And apparently, like I said, I'm realizing in San Jose too, where enough to the point where my dad was hiring over the course of however many years he worked for that company, like over 200 people from Bosnia, where it made it back to like home newspaper, where it was like saying like, this guy in San Jose has hired all these people that are from our country. So,
that's
it's
the definition of a community builder.
Exactly. And
that's insane.
Looking back, I realized like, there's a lot of people, but as a kid, I was like, oh, that's cool. I just didn't know any better. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, that's cool.
That's the dream, man. Bro. And they talk about building a wall. No, man. So do you consider yourself Bosnian or Yugoslavian, or what is the
Montenegrin for sure?
Montenegrin? I mean, and then what's the language?
So Serbo-Croatian is technically the language, but if you're from Bosnia, you say you speak Bosnian. If you're from Montenegro, you say you speak Montenegrin. If you're from Serbia, you say you speak Serbian. However,
and is it different?
Words are different,
but like
accents are different. But no, bro, it's like it's the same language, dude. It's like I said, words are different. The accent's for sure different. Bosnian accent is different than a Serbian accent. And I think Montenegrin falls somewhere in between. Because Montenegro itself used to be Serbia and Montenegro up until, dude, I don't think Montenegro got its independence until like 2006. Don't quote me, but it's like, it's, you know what I mean? We were Serbia and Montenegro. First it was Yugoslavia. Then it broke up and it was all these different countries, and it was Serbia and Montenegro. And then it was finally just Montenegro. Serbia is its own country. Montenegro is its own.
So you grew up in your house speaking Montenegrin?
Yes, more than I realized. There was video of me when I was like 1 and some change over the summer back in Montenegro, just straight speaking the language, no English, just straight the language. So for sure, I grew up speaking the language, but English too. But yeah, sure. I grew up but of course, grew up in the house. I still speak the language to this day. I understand it a lot better than I speak. I have no problem. I'm conversational, but I will definitely come up with hiccups where I'll just forget a word, or I'll get stumped all the time, for sure.
Right on. Where'd you go to high school?
Del Mar High School in San Jose, down the streets, like right across from Bascom. It was like a 60-second walk for me to get to high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was it a pretty good experience for you?
I liked it, man, for sure. I loved high school. Like I played football. I wasn't very good, but I played football in high school. It was a very fun experience. And it was cool, man. Like it was for sure set me up. I think I was like the only person from that high school to go to Santa Clara.
Was Santa Clara your first choice?
So it was only because it's funny, because I watching the episode of you talking to Tennyson and the whole Stanford and Santa Clara being its little brother, dude, I was going, my whole middle school, high school career was like Stanford, for sure Stanford, except for I forgot to apply by the time it was due. So I'm so bad at this, freaking like RSVPing for events, saying I'm going to go somewhere, I'll show up, but I completely forget all like the stuff you're supposed to do beforehand, like, submit an application. So, dude, when I realized, I was like, oh man, I completely missed the boat. I didn't even have a chance. I think it was like due that like the next day, and you needed like teacher recommendations from like 5. There's so much stuff that you needed that I just did not do, that I didn't even give myself a chance. But Santa Clara was absolutely my first choice after that. I mean, I applied for it.
After that.
Well, it's not even fair to say that because I didn't even get to apply for Stanford. So I never even went on a Stanford tour, none of that. So it was more like, Stanford's out of the question. I was, I forget what it's called, but if you had a certain grade point average, they pre-applied you to a certain amount of like the UC school systems.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pre-accepted to like a list of schools. Then I applied to another amount. And then there was like Santa Clara, which was like the one I wanted to get into. As soon as I heard back from Santa Clara, I didn't care. Everything else. Oh, Berkeley was like a second close one, but I think they waitlisted me. So I was like, nah, I'm good. Besides that, I was like, wait, Berkeley, nah, I'm good. It was besides that, dude. Santa Clara was first year number one, and it was after the first campus tour where I was sold. And they're good at that for sure. I realized after the fact, it's like, oh, you step on campus, it looks like a freaking resort. Like, who's not gonna want to go here?
Yeah,
that's when I was sold for sure. But yeah, Santa Clara, I couldn't be happier, man. I think about that often. I don't know what would happen if I went to Stanford. You know, I have no idea, or Berkeley or any of them, man. I couldn't be happier with Santa Clara.
Yeah. What about so you were a commuter student. You lived at home?
Dude, I was down the street. I mean, I was lucky enough to like meet friends the first year and then bros by the second year and third year that like I was a commuter, but man, I
basically lived on campus.
I remember people end of the year asking me hey, where do you live? I'm like, no, I know you're just like, what dorm are you? I'm like, no, I commute. Like, no, you don't. Would not believe me. I could tell them many times. No way, because I was there. I used my home in San Jose basically to sleep. You know what I mean? I wanted to live on campus. My parents were strict and it was expensive too. And I understood. It was a mix of both, you know? And I was like, fine, if I can't live on campus, I'm going to do everything but sleep on campus. Literally everything but sleep. So I would go to school. I would spend time after. I'm going to eat on campus, going to the gym, showering up in McLaughlin and Walsh because, you know, I had bros and, you know, boys in the room that are like, it's cool. Bring an extra pair of clothes. Keep that in the, you know what I mean? Whatever you need, you're good. So, dude, I would be there 8 a.m. to 2 in the morning. You know what I mean? Monday through Friday. And then if, you know, you're going back on weekends to party too, I was there absolutely all the time. So, and I was an orientation leader as well for like the 3 summers there as well. So I'd spend the summers there too. And I got to live on campus during the summer. So that was cool. I got to live on campus when you had no work. It was just play. I mean, it was work, but it wasn't school work. It was like, I got to live on campus and we were like, you know, you'd work, but you're partying with your other orientation leaders. It was super fun, man. It was an incredible experience. And even then I think back, I'm like, yeah, I mean, maybe the first year would have been cool to live on campus, but I wouldn't change it. I'm very happy with how it turned out.
How'd you get wrapped up with the NACs?
Ruben Dario Villa was an orientation leader. And he's actually got me into NAC and orientation. So I seen him and I was like, I want to do that. And then I didn't realize like, oh, I'm going to do both of them things. Because he was just cool, man. It was like orientation. He was the first guy. I think he was Unity too. So I was McLaughlin and Walsh in Unity. And he's just cool as fuck, super welcoming, nice guy. I mean, you already had him on the pod, you know what I mean? That was probably your longest podcast, and I can obviously see why. You talk to the guy, you forget, like time just goes out the window. So man, it was honestly, it was Ruben. It was Ruben that first started with orientation, and then just as I realized after the fact, it's just part of the pledge process. You just got to be welcoming. You're not pushy, but you're, hey man, if you want to come kick it, we're at the house. You're more than welcome. Come through. And I remember it was like they didn't pledge fall, and it was like the week of deciding winter. And I was obviously like we started with 13 guys, we ended up with 9. But I remember walking back, I was like McLaughlin Walsh, kind of right by like the Santa Clara Street area where the actual street is, and thinking like, fuck, man, like these are all my homies. Like these are the people I kick it with. These are people I hang out with outside of school. Like if I don't do this, like what else am I gonna do? Like yeah, of course, yeah, I'm gonna pledge NAC. And we did, man. Like, you know, we did it. Obviously, got my letters. I still got my shirt. Like, it was everything to me at the time. I loved it, man. I was super, super in. I was like, just wanted to do everything about it. I remember, man, it was cool. Like, design the binder, and I remember designing the binder, not knowing crap about Photoshop Illustrator. I made everything on Photoshop, which are looking back, huge file size. Everything was rasters, like huge freaking. To make it clear, whatever. I did this like wannabe like Louis Vuitton, Gucci like design where it was like NAK with like other like little symbols going back through like the design of it. and printed it on like a just like paper we laminated, put on the binders. And I remember as a pledge, remember Ricardo Cortez actually being like, hey, little bro, you designed this? I'm like, yeah. He's like, man, that's good, little bro. Like, I just remember getting that little bump of like, oh yeah, this is sick. Like, for sure. Like, that's cool. Like, so as a creative, always, like, whether it be music, whether it be design, like, I was always super into it. And then I don't want to say like I designed the class paddle. I think I started the design, but I know I was responsible for the construction of it for sure. Cause I had, all the bros were at the house, but my dad was in construction. So I was like, hey, Pops, like, these are the dimensions we want to do. He had one of his guys like cut everything up and like basically put the base for us together. We painted it and kind of assembled it at my house. So like super, man, when I started, I was like super into it. I was the pledge class president when we started off until I got demoted. Like, as you know, during the pledge process, like if you're president, you will stay president, that's for sure. But man, I was super, super into it, man. Like it was especially during the pledge process, man. You get out of it what you put into it, like they say. And I was all in for sure. I
always remember hearing that, but as I went through the experience, not just pledgeship, but through the entire experience, I found that you get 10x out what you put in. Like, it's so much more rewarding than what you put in. It's so much more valuable. I at least that was my experience. I got 10x out what I put in.
At the end of the day, like, it's a pledge process. It's made up by people. You know what I mean? Like, sure. You're sitting there, like, you can, at the end of the day, like, if you're in an activity or whatever it is, like, it's made up, it's like made up by other people. It's not like a life or death thing. But when you believe in it and you just kind of like you give yourself into like the pledge process and live the pledge process, like, it made it a lot more fun. It made it a lot more real. Like, I was in that, like, it was like, I was in it like it was life or death. Like, we were super serious about it. Like, activities were super fun because of that. You know what I mean? And then you learn so much and you're able to, everything after that was cake, man. You kidding me? Like, what, school after that, work after that. Like, you learn so much about the pledge process of even going down to like your haircut, going down to every little bit of like, not worrying about how the outside world sees you or understanding that it's only minimal. In terms of like, you can go, like, if I can be at Santa Clara University with week-old clothing, freaking with the flat top, and people are looking at me funny, and I can handle that heat, dude, like, interview what? Like, job what? Like, bro, I'm good. Like, I mean, it prepped me for a lot of stuff that you don't realize till after the fact, where it's like, at the time, yeah, you learn your lessons and you write in your journal because of all that, and you kind of reflect. But man, there's years that'll pass that I look back, I'm like, oh man, that taught me this. You know what I mean? So there's also stuff where I'm like going to go visit my brother, and he's in Sacramento, and we're driving past the Sacramento River, and I'm like, oh man, fuck that river, dude.
Yeah, I think for a lot of bros, it's something that maybe for the first time, something that you really, really care about voluntarily, that you didn't even know that you could care about something like that, and caring, and not even being able to express or understanding and what community really means to you, so I absolutely can feel you on that. So what was maybe one of your fondest memories of being a NAC at undergrad? One of the funnest times,
I would have to say,
and don't incriminate anybody, but
nah, dude, no. I actually haven't thought about this one too much, but the second, like, you said it clicked. Do you remember Alpha Phi Star Search?
Mm-hmm.
That was it for me, dude. I came in one Sunday meeting, super cocky. I was in like Adidas sweatpants and like a white tee, like super, super Slavic looking. And I remember going up, I swear, bro, like Adidas sweatsuit, like, and I remember like joking, but not joking. Like, I remember going up, and it was like presentations. This is all the bros, and it was like, all right. So I was coming up to give my presentation, and I was like, all right, do you guys want to win Star Search this year? And it was just like the super cocky, douchey, like just joking, but bro, I came up with like this, I mean, I'd seen it, obviously it wasn't like original, nothing's original, but modified this like performance that I had seen where there's a bunch of black lights. You're wearing all white. And you're just kind of, this is like a show where you can essentially make yourself look like you were like floating in midair while this stuff was going on.
I think I saw the video of that at some point. Yeah,
right. So man, I'd spent weeks, ton of money. I still think bros owe me for that. You know what I mean? When you like go pay for something, hey, who owes this much for that? All right, man, just make sure you pay it back. One of the most fun times we had, or at least I can say that I had, because I went in like joking, half joking, like, hey, you guys want to win Star Search this year? And I was like, all right, we're going to do it this way. This and this and this. I give my presentation. People were in. And dude, we won Star Search that year.
Yeah, and then you won. You actually won.
We just demolished, took first place. Like it was no contest. Because it was a thing where like you go, everyone gets drunk and they can go up on stage and you have fun and it's funny. And we had fun with it, but we took it just serious enough where we put on a show, dude. It was a ton of fun, man. If you really wanted to go back and like think about that, like that was the one time where I would really like, yeah, I know like finals are important, or like, hey, this test is important. I'm not gonna remember any of that, dude.
You're not gonna remember finals.
Dude. I remember taking first place in Star Search though. That was so much fun.
That's
for
awesome,
sure, man.
That's awesome. All right, so you graduate from Santa Clara, and then because I remember, I think we did interview prep or resume prep when you were applying to Apple.
Yeah, you helped me out for sure.
Yeah, so you got in at Apple, and then you were only there like. Were you there
like,
a year?
Like 6 months, maybe.
Yeah. What was the position at Apple that you got in at?
Finance, P2P was, so essentially I was in the, I'm trying to think of exactly where it was. It wasn't on the main campus, but it's like, there's companies to this day that I'll see, like Siva Logistics, or like, there's certain companies, or like, I forget who did our wood tables, but all the purchase orders, all the invoices, all the like the ordering of like stuff to actually build Apple stores was what I was doing. So like invoices for tables. We found out that we own, like, you know what I mean? Not very exciting. The people were great. The people there, to this day, I love them to death. And I'm still like friends with a ton of them on social media. Because it was like a small knit group, maybe like 12 of us. But it was like, we were running all the finance and logistics and like P2P for like the building of Apple stores. While I was there, I still have like the shirt. Like one of our projects that we worked on was like the Grand Central Station Apple store. So again, it was cool, but it wasn't like I was like creating Apple products or anything like that. It was like a bunch of invoices, a bunch of purchase orders. But it was essentially like, you learned a bunch of stuff. Like Apple has like a contract with like some mountain in Italy. Don't quote me, and if I'm not allowed to say this, I'm sorry, Apple. But there's stone in the Apple stores. It's not cement, it's stone, and it's like 29 point some odd amount of like by 29 point whatever. So the amount of grit or whatever that goes in between equals to an exact 30 by 30. Like little things that you learn. Even like the Apple stores are built like cookie cutter, like designed out. Even the way they're designed, 100% is like thought out, etc. So it was cool, but it wasn't like I wasn't at Apple like what you would think, like what seems like the cool position to be at Apple or doing.
Yeah,
you
didn't help design the iPhone.
I didn't make no iPhones, man.
So you're at Apple, and then what happens?
So then I'm at Apple, and man, it was December. So it's like end of December. I remember obviously vividly, dude. I'm finishing up work, and Ryan Leslie tweeted on Twitter about a job opportunity in New York City. Like just and I followed him. He was in college, actually, is where I first started following him through friends at Santa Clara that were like, hey, have you ever heard of this guy, Ryan Leslie? He makes these beats. He uses all these instruments. He does it live. You can kind of see the process. So I got into like watching, started following on Twitter, super early social media stuff. I put like alert notifications on anytime this guy would tweet. So I see this tweet about a mentorship through partnership opportunity in New York City. And, I'm on my way home from Apple. And that night I was actually recording a friend in my studio in San Jose. So not much has changed. I was working in corporate. I would come home and I was doing music. So I was recording a friend at that night. And I remember saying like, hey, can you give me like 30 minutes, an hour. I'm going to just refresh this cover letter real quick, this resume. I'm just going to send it in. Like, I feel terrible if I didn't throw my hat in the ring. So, you know, the same resume cover letter that you probably helped me with that got me into Apple. I tweaked it a little bit. I added Apple in there, obviously, like, hey, by the way.
Oh yeah, I work at Apple.
Like Apple Inc. Man, I submitted an email, and I mean, 7 minutes later, I got a response, to the point where I was like, auto response for sure. Like, I submitted an email with my cover letter resume. 7 minutes later, there's a response in the email. Yo, you know you need to live in New York, right? I'm like, that's not an assistant. That's not auto response.
That was the whole email. That
was like,
whole...
I was like, yo, you know you need to live in New York, right? I was like, okay, like super short. I'm like, okay. And I forget what I responded with. I forget 100% what it was, but it was essentially like, okay, like, yeah, I think like if I could figure that out, he's like, again, then I'd have to look through the emails, but the response after that was call you in 30. Call you in 30. So I call Raul Leon.
Okay.
I remember this vividly. Man, you should probably talk to him about it eventually too, whatever. And I call Raul Leon, one of my line bros. I'm like, hey bro, what are you doing right now? He's like, oh yeah, I'm like, you know, looking for job opportunities right now. I'm like, I got a job opportunity. I need to get over here now. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, I think Ryan Leslie's about to call me. He's like, what? So he jams over, comes over to the house, and Ryan used to film everything. He would document everything. Like, and the guy's super smart. Like, he graduated Harvard when he was like 19. I think he entered Harvard at 15, just to give you like an idea, like just ahead of his time. But at the moment, I'm like, yo, get over here. Raul comes up. He's like, yo, what happened? As I'm handing him my camera, I still have it like put away. I'm like handing him this camera. I'm like, look, dude, here. This is how you set it up, just in case this guy calls. Like, make sure this thing's ready to record. So as I'm explaining, he has it on record, and he's like, all right, so what happened? He's sitting there, and he's recording. What happened? And I'm telling him, like, dude, I got home, this, that. As I'm explaining the story, my phone starts to ring, and it's New York City. And I'm like, actually, I'm like, on camera, I'm like, I think that's him calling right now. So on camera, I answer, I put it on speaker. Hello, Zeto. What's going on, man? It's Ryan. And you hear Raul behind the camera go, oh shit. Because at that point you could tell, like, it was him. It was just like, again, insane. Like, you see this stuff on movies. It's not like, oh, you put a tweet out into the universe and then freaking you get a phone call from this guy that, you know, at the time, like, that was my favorite producer. Like, that, you asked me who my favorite musician was, like, that was it. So I'm talking to him, and it's short, man. It's like a 15-minute call. And that's where he really goes into detail. He's like, look, man, he goes, you know, the job is, it's long nights. It's sometimes, you know, you're barely eating, sometimes barely sleeping. We might be on the road. Like, you might be pulling in all night, or you might be out 48 hours on the road. Like, it's tough work, but, you know, it's rewarding. It was for you. It was as long as you have a roof over your head, covered, and you got a cell phone on you, the job's yours. Like, we had obviously like a conversation before that, but that was his closing words, essentially. He's like, look, man, if you can get out here, you got a roof over your head, covered, and you got a cell phone, I'll see you. And that was it, man. And thinking back, so that was December 22nd, I want to say. Don't quote me on any of the dates, but I'm pretty sure it was December 22nd. I had already had a round trip flight booked to New York City for February 2nd with me, Raul Leon, who was there filming, Ruben Dario Villa, and we were all going to New York for the Super Bowl to see Eugene De Benedetto, who's my personal big bro. Bro, I remember calling and changing my round trip to a one-way. Kept the flight. Like, before I knew any of this was going on, had already booked a flight to New York City. Just was going, like I said, just with the bros, we were going as it was, just to go visit for the Super Bowl, just to be in New York, out there while we're just together, just as a trip. And I remember this happened December 22nd. I was still at Apple, having to figure out how I'm going to quit Apple, and talking to a buddy, one of my closest buddies there. I started explaining it to him, and he cut me off. He's like, dude, and he's been at Apple. He's like, dude, how are you still here? Like, quit today. Like, don't spend the rest of the month here. Go do this. He was like a little older than me, so he had a little bit more insight too, and he'd been at Apple already. But he's like, what are you doing, bro? You gotta go. So I remember like having that, man, it all led into even with him, like having the conversation, like, bro, you got to get out of here. Figuring it out, spending the rest of like the it was like the rest of December, all of January trying to save up. And then February 2nd, I was out. Remember having to have the talk with the coworker, remember my boss at Apple, like I had to be like, hey, can I talk to you for a sec? I'm fresh there, like 6 months in, bro, like rookie, you know what I mean? My rookie season, I haven't even finished a year yet. And I'm going to my manager like, hey, so thanks for everything. But I kind of got this thing. And it reminds me too, dude, so my father and and his brother, my uncle, were musicians. My dad's been a musician his whole life. My older brother, my younger brother, my sister sings too. I'm a musician. But I remember having to tell my parents about this, dude. And my dad being a musician, I'm thinking like, hey, like, pop, like, hey, this is, we did it. Like, this is the start of the big thing. And it was absolutely not what I expected, dude. Complete 180, bro. Complete 180, dude. My mom, God bless her, she's like, honey, I don't know what this is, but I know you got to go do it. I know it's going to make you happy.
So what was the actual proposition, or what was the job description? Like, this is an unpaid internship?
Yes, 100% unpaid internship. You come out here.
For how long?
For as long as, dude, I'll get into that. I'll get into that. But like, for as long as you're unpaid for, dude, like I had to essentially like make a way even out there. So it was unpaid, but going back real quick, I'll get into that right now, dude. I didn't talk to my dad for like 2 weeks. He's a musician.
Right.
I'm like, Dad, he's like, no, you're not going. I'm like, thanks for your opinion. But bro, at that point, dude, I felt like I had done everything I was supposed to for my immigrant parents. I worked my ass off through school. I messed, at 5th grade, I was like a little shithead, but like 6th grade and on, dude, straight A's all throughout middle school, all throughout high school, graduated college with honors, got a job to work at Apple. Now I'm 6 months in. It's not all it's cracked up to be. I have my degree. I started this job. If there were ever a better time for me to just be like, yo, you're 22. Drop it all, move to New York City, go work for no money. Sure, figure it out. But try explaining that to your immigrant parents who also paid for Santa Clara. Cool. So it's like work their asses off for that too. Do you know what I mean? Like I understand that. I understand the benefit that I had there too. Like to this day, I feel like I'm in debt to them, and I try my best to pay them back, and I know I will. But to this day, it's like they worked their faces off to be able to put me through Santa Clara. So now I got to go to my immigrant parents who came here to build a better life for us with their son first, which also, by the way, like I was the first for my family to graduate college. So first to graduate, got a job at Apple in Cupertino, like 10 minutes away from home. Hey, what do you guys think about me quitting and moving to New York to work for free for this musician? Come on, man. They were like, my mom was like, honey, that's crazy, but go do it. My dad, dude, we didn't talk for like 2 weeks. And then of course he comes around. And, when it came time to actually leave, obviously the tears are flowing. Everyone's, it's sad to see you go. But it was that moment where I'm like saying bye to my parents. And even then, like in New York, dude, there was a good time where it was like, I started off now to get into kind of like the New York thing of like making no money and being out there. I was at first living with my aunt, my mom's cousin, who I, again, can never repay her too. Like living out in New York, living with her, and then working. Luckily, she was in Battery Park, so Ryan Leslie was just across the street in the financial district. So I'm like walking to work, this and that. And dude, it was a period of time where it's like I'm going to work, I'm coming home at like 2, 3 in the morning. Again, I'm not making any money. I'm living in New York City. My aunt's helping me, with like meals because she's like just a godsend at this point. And as a kid, I feel so bad because I just didn't know any better. Like I'm so grateful now. I can't wait to be able to go back out to New York and treat her to like a dinner someday. Like I look back and I'm super grateful for everybody who helped me along the way. At the time, I was this 22-year-old kid living on my aunt's couch, going to work for Ryan Leslie, to the point where, dude, it came like 2 things happened. I've been coming home late, and my aunt works like 15, 16-hour days hard. And one morning she's like, look, I can't do this. Like, you can't come here at 2, 3 in the morning. If I wake up, that's it. I can't go to sleep for the rest of the night. Like if this is going to keep coming this way, like you got to figure something out, to the point where before that happened, dude, like I remember leaving Ryan's place at like 2, 3 in the morning. And there would be some nights where I didn't want to wake my aunt up. She had a great spot in Battery Park, but I'd come back into the building and I'd go to the gym. And bro, I'm nodding off in like the gym chairs. Like there's a TV. So I'm like pretending like I'm there watching TV lounging. But really, I just didn't want to wake her up. I wanted to wait till like 7 a.m. when she got up and then stroll in while she was up. And then I would knock out for like 3 hours, wake up at 10 and go back to work with Ryan. To the point where like, she's like, you can't do this. Like, it's not, this isn't sustainable. Like, what are you doing? And I remember sitting there like freaking out. This was early on. I'm like a month in. I'm making no money. I'm just quit my job at Apple. I'm about to lose my couch that I'm surfing on at my aunt's spot. And again, she's been more like, couldn't ask for more from her. Like I couldn't be more grateful for what she provided me. And I remember Ryan calling, like, it's like 2:30, 3 o'clock. He's like, dude, where you at? And I start to explain. I'm like, look, man, like, my aunt's like telling me this, that, like, I've got to figure something out. I'm coming. He like interrupts. He's like, yeah. He's like, I got a room. Like, you just get the rest of your stuff later. But dude, it's almost 3 o'clock. I'm like, huh? He's like, yeah, man. Like, just come with what you need for tonight. And then like throughout the week, you can like move the rest of your stuff. I got an extra room. And I'm like, what? And it wasn't like that when we started. You got to understand, like, he didn't know who I was when I first moved out there. And the first 2 weeks out there too, dude, I didn't get called once. And that was the fault of like prior interns that were there that were not giving me stuff to do. So 2 weeks in, I'm on the set of like a music video shoot, and he calls me after and he's like, hey, so what's up, man? Like, what's been going on these past 2 weeks? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I've been waiting. No one's hit me up. He's like, all right, cool. He kind of knew what was going on. Like, the communication wasn't happening the way it was supposed to. So from that day on, he kind of took my number down and he's like, look, dude, just show up to my spot. We'll start working. So 2 weeks in, I'm at his spot every morning, just like literally brainstorming and then doing what we need to do for the day, whatever that may have been. That's where like late nights started, coming home super late. A month in, this guy sees that all I do is work. Like, I'm there 7 a.m. and I'm keeping up with this. This guy's a nut, by the way. Like, he can outwork anybody that I know. And I can say to this day that I'm the only person he's ever said that was able to keep up neck and neck with him. I remember when I left and he's telling other interns, like, yeah, man, he goes, Ed, looks at me, he's like, Edo's the only person that's ever been able to compete neck and neck with me. But this guy works like a maniac. So I think, a couple weeks in, he saw like, dude, this guy's just here to work, dude. You know what I mean? You don't know me, so you can't trust me to like have me come live into your home the first day you meet me. But I think early on he realized, and I think he realized too, I was like super upset. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to work, but I also have to figure out a place to live. So dude, early on, man, he was like, yeah, you know what? I got a room. It's like almost 3 o'clock. You get the rest of your stuff later, but like, let's go. This guy was like nonchalant, like, hey, move in, but also just like, hurry up. We still have stuff to do. Like, I got meetings, like, let's go. We got stuff to do. So very, very early on, like that first, like after that first month, dude, I was his roommate. Like he had an extra room. This guy that I was like looking up to, watching all his YouTube videos. I'm now living in New York City in like a 35th floor of a high rise. I look out my window. It's like a taxi boat on the water, crossing the water, like just like the craziest, insane like experience. And that's just a start. Now we're getting in, we're a month or two in, and it's like we're February, March. I remember March, he's like, you got your passport? Yeah, I got my passport. He's like, all right, bet. We left April 1st. We came back May 5th. And that was our first international run. I was gone for a month and 5 days on tour, traveling. And that's where the money started to come in. So at first, dude, I was running, gunning, shooting video, this, that. And then, man, actually, that's where it gets interesting. Brian has a label called Next Selection. I'm fresh out of college. He had this thing called Next Selection Academy. I'm like, dude, I just pledged a class my senior year. Like, I'm going to run your Next Selection Academy for you. Dude, I ran this like P. Diddy's Making the Band meets New Alpha Kappa pledge ship, dude. So real early on, he's like, I remember him saying this too. He's like, look, you could try, but man, this Next Selection Academy, like, it's not as easy as you think. I'm like, all right, bet. I just need you to put a tweet out for me. That's all we need. I just need you to put out a tweet out. I'll handle the rest. So he puts a tweet out. He goes, look, we're starting Next Selection Academy. Your intake director is Edo Metovic. Hit him up. On a tweet. Like 20, 30, 40 dudes, like obviously same way I got introduced to the internship. Now within like a couple months, we're kind of reintroducing to them. So I remember hitting up like, I don't know, I think 12 at the end of the day. We met with those 12 first thing early on in the morning at some cafe, like right across the street. And then we're like, all right, cool, we'll be back. And then we bounced for like 8 hours, 12 hours. They just hung out. It was like the worst thing ever. It wasn't on purpose, but we were figuring stuff out because we had a concert that night. We had to get like a security plus 2 other people to roll with us. So we were out running and gunning, buying a bunch of stuff. We had these guys like basically like waiting. I felt like in a way like it was like like they were kind of getting hazed. They were just like in this like thing, like, wait, like what's going on? Like, but dude, some guys left. When we came back, other guys were pissed off. I was like, all right, cool, cut them out. Who's left? So immediately cut out like half of them. We got like 6 dudes left. Cool. Throughout the week, we're like doing this. End up from a tweet from the same way I got my position to putting these guys kind of through the ringer, through the runner to like find out who's going to roll with us. And then I ended up essentially building a team of more interns that were working under myself with me within like the first couple of months. And I remember him saying that too. He's like, dude, no one's ever come in and just like, you're just like run. That's when like I got the suit, just see, like you'll see like photos of me and Ryan. I'm like rolling around in the suit. I'm like his right hand. We got like security. We got other people running. He's like, bro, what did you? He's like, you came in and kind of just like running this on your own now or what? I'm like, hey man, you said you needed this done. Like this is the only way I knew how. And so much came back, like in terms of like just being able to communicate with a group of guys. Also understanding like, dude, like in any even in corporate, there's certain amounts of hazing that you'll go through. You know what I mean? Like. Hazing is such a bad term. And I'm not talking about like purposely, hazing a pledge or anything like that. But there's certain things like it's just like as a rookie or as someone fresh in that you go through. That's just part of the process or the culture there. So it's interesting, dude, getting in, starting with no money, starting with like living on my, aunt's couch to like, all right, now I'm like, I got a room. We've got like, people working with us where it's not everything's not on my shoulders.
How long was it until you were on the payroll?
So essentially, that's literally what I was getting into now. The second we started getting into booking shows, that's how I made money. So I had like an edo@ryanleslieemail.com email address, but I was also in charge of all incoming show inquiries. So any show I booked, I could get 10 to 20%, 10, 15, 20%, depending on the show, of the amount of money of the show. So,
damn.
So
that's when you got your suit.
Listen, man, that's when we went out and got me 2 suits. So I'm like, and I remember that too, bro. Like I booked a show in Africa, $50,000 show. Okay. I remember finally landing back in New York. We're in the Escalade. That's another thing. Ryan had like a free Lexus that they gave him because he did a Lexus commercial. And I'm like, dude, we need an Escalade, bro. We need 2 Escalades. Like, we need to look the part. Like, I remember going into an Escalade dealership and we had the Lexus. I'm sure the Lexus was worth more, but we did a deal where the guy's like, look, I'll take your Lexus as is. You guys can leave with this Escalade. So we're more so like, we're building the team. You know what I mean? It was just Ryan. Then it was Ryan and me. Then it was Ryan and me and like 4 other dudes that like are still like interning, but we're running together. Now we're all wearing like, uniform. Again, like all black. Rolling around in a black Escalade, like just doing the damn thing, building it out. And then essentially I remember coming back home from that. And I was in charge too, like getting the band together. Like we literally sent out a ton of, obviously Ryan's making head decisions, but I'm running through all these like videos where we needed to get a guitarist. We needed to get a drummer. We needed to get a bass player. And the guitarist still friends with to this day. He's from the Bay Area too. He ended up flying out to New York and traveling the world with us doing on tour. Same with a couple of the guys that kind of got hazed early on. Dude, they traveled the world, man. Traveled the world with us too. Like, yeah, you waited in a little cafe all day and this and that. But dude, same thing, man. Out there traveling the world on tour, like running it. So again, coming home, I'm in the car and I didn't think like what I was doing, but essentially we had like our guitarist was like in the back seat and he's always playing guitar. So even on the way home, show's done. He's just sitting there just practicing. And I'm in the middle row and I'm writing my invoice to Ryan because now, the show's done. So like now I'm getting paid. I remember vividly the guitarist come up to me after. He's like, man, so I definitely picked the wrong gig. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, man, we ain't getting paid nearly as much as you getting paid. So it's not all the time, but yeah, dude, 10, 15, 20% on a $50,000 show, $35,000 show, $25,000 show. And you're doing, sometimes in a month you can do, especially if you're on tour, but you can do a lot of different shows. I remember we were doing Africa, Hawaii, and Dusseldorf in Germany. And these are like 50, 35, 25, back to back, back to back, back to back. That's when it started to like pick up. That's when I was like, okay, like you can live off of this stuff too. Like, and it was at the same time too, I was living with Ryan. Like I wasn't paying for rent. So I was able to be okay. I was able to save up some money out there. Like it wasn't a bad gig, dude. It wasn't, but it took, even then, man, it was very much so not knowing what's coming next. You have to be out there and have to be willing to kind of do it. Whether it works out or not, I'll figure it out. But man, you had to just be ready. But yeah, it essentially came down to I was making my money on booking shows, dude, and it was fine. It was sustainable. I didn't have to pay rent. Like I said, I wasn't paying New York rent, so whatever I made, my immigrant raised mind was able to save. Like I was very, very specific and like, about where I spent my money, knowing that I had just in case for a rainy day, as I am to this day, dude. Like I think I just recently I had like a box full of plastic bags that I saved, because I don't know if you do this, but I save plastic bags just in case I need it for like a trash bag. Dude, I recently like tossed that because I'm like, you know what? It's been like 5 years I haven't opened that thing. There's certain things that you say you got to unlearn or whatever, but certain things that stick with you. But yeah, man, when I started booking shows is when the money started coming in, and it wasn't all the money in the world, but it didn't need to be.
Right.
It didn't need to be. Man.
How long did the internship last?
It would have lasted as long as I would have wanted it to, but I think I stayed 18 months, maybe 2 years. And the thing is, when I left, I ended up going back 2 or 3 more times. Like I left, I was like, all right, I want to do my own thing. This is sick. Like I want to build my own thing. I was still very close with Ryan, and we had done like again with his next selection, we had started working on stuff even on the West Coast where I was here. Like through that, I got a link up with like Nipsey Hussle out here in my home in San Jose because of Ryan. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things to this day that I was able to do because of him, where it lasted in New York, I would say 18 months to 2 years. But past that, I talked to him like last month. You know what I mean? So past that, no, man. Last month, I was driving home. I was just driving and I see, Ryan Leslie on. I'm like, first thing I said, I'm like, I wasn't expecting this name on the caller ID. What's up, dude? He's like, we caught up for a little bit. And at the end of the call, he's like, oh yeah, dude, do you have so-and-so's number? I'm like, oh yeah, here you go. Like, so it was still very much so like catching up is just like, you pick up where you left off. And in that sense, man, like he's still doing his thing. He's got like a wealth plan thing going on where he's invited me to. So in that sense, like anytime he comes out to the West Coast, I'm always out there with him. Like I've events that I've gone to with him anytime that he's come out here. So I don't think it's ever ended in that sense, but New York wise, like 18 months, 2 years. And then I came back, and then still, dude, I ended up going back on tour. He's like, look, man, like, I know you want to go do your own thing, but like, will you come out to Paris? And like, can you do another month stint? And I was like, you know what, man, it's so tough. Oh no, Europe. I guess I guess I'll go. So bro, I went back a few more times, dude, even after I thought I was for sure done. I remember going back to visit family. That was the craziest, actually. I was supposed to be done. And on a whim, he's like, bro, if you can come, it was like Monday. It's like Friday, I'll fly you out. First go to Paris. Dude, we went to, like, I was supposed to be done. We went back out. I was back in Paris. We went to the last Watch the Throne with Jay-Z and Kanye in Paris. We went to the last Watch the Throne ever in Birmingham. That was the last show ever. I spent a week in a freaking, it was like 2 barns. One was like a living barn where it's like in the middle of the UK. And the other one was a studio with Jay Electronica. Just lived there for a week while we were working on his album. Like the most insane, mind-blowing things. Like I look back and I'm like, met Young Jeezy, like in studio with him. Like I've got audio recordings of him sitting there being like literally sitting there and talking to Ryan. Like, by the way, man, I told this guy, like, grabs me by the shoulders. Like I told him he's like Justin Bieber of this rap shit. Like just little things that I'm like looking back and I'm like, these stories are unreal. And they wouldn't have happened if I didn't say yes. This is after I thought like I was done. I was like, I'm going to work on my own thing, but keeping an open mind and being able to, having the ability to drop everything and go, paid back tenfold, man. On times where I was like, okay, I'll show up, ended up being some of the most insane trips, some of the most insane experiences I've ever had. To this day, dude, I think about it. Some of the people I met have gone on to do even greater things. And I'm seeing clothes on TV and I'm like, yeah, I know that designer, but like I knew him when he had like a t-shirt out. Like there's cool things that you're able to see. That again, like I said, man, compounds. It's never all at once. As long as you do good, be good, and you're not a jerk. Like be friendly along the way. People where they start aren't gonna be where they start 10 years from now. Like they end up different places, man. Make sure that you're doing right by yourself and by them too. But yeah, man, it's been an insane experience. But yeah, to answer your question with a bunch more.
I think it when you said that, and it all came from me being willing to say yes, the first thing that I thought of was your dad, and thinking and being willing to disappoint your parents. Because I think that comes to, I tell my story and I go through the exact same scenario when it's like, hey, mom, pops, I'm leaving, I'm quitting corporate and I'm going to go do something else or whatever. And that, especially when they're immigrant parents, but being willing to stand up and be like, no, that's why you guys came. You guys didn't come so I could be a corporate shill and just do the thing and live a soulless life. You came so I had opportunity, and this is me executing on that opportunity. I understand that it doesn't look like what you thought it would look like, but you gotta let me be my own man and trust me and be willing to do that, because there's a lot of folks who won't do that. It's like, no, I got this dream, but I won't cross my parents.
You know what? At that point, dude, like I said, it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna go get a tattoo and they don't know about it, or like it was like, hey, man, like I did everything I was supposed to do. If I don't do this for myself right now, I'm gonna regret it. I might resent them. Like if I didn't do it, I think it would have led to a much worse relationship where I would have always wondered what if. And dude, yeah, my dad was pissed. We didn't talk for like 2 weeks. But also fast forward when we toured. I mean, I was on tour in a month, dude. Like February, March, and then April we're on tour, right? He's the guy, wouldn't talk to me before it, but then he's the guy where I'm like, we land in Dubai. I want to say it was Dubai, and there was paparazzi. And we end up like on some news thing somewhere. I don't know if it's online or what it was. But he's the guy on Facebook about like, and our language, like my son in Dubai with Ryan Leslie, like posting this thing, like making this whole. I'm like, oh, so you are proud. You just needed to see it be real too, because he probably didn't know what it was either. You know what I mean? But I remember we didn't talk, and even when I was out there, we weren't talking a ton. And then just randomly, like on Facebook, I saw the article because he posted it, and it was like how proud he was about it. So it did come around. But yeah, you're right, sure, man. I had to make that decision at that point. It was an easy decision. It's not like I was like doing something that I thought was bad. I was going to give it a shot, my best shot. I had to make all like the scenarios in my head at that point where like, look, dude, if I go out there and it's a 6-month vacation or a 3-month vacation in New York, and I come back 3 months later, it'll still be worth it. I can find another job. Mm-hmm. And I had to make that decision back before I did anything. I'm just lucky it ended up being 2 years and beyond, and travel beyond, and like still doing stuff beyond that. You know what I mean? Because it could have been with those first 2 weeks. I was freaked out when I first got out there. I wasn't getting hit up by Ryan direct at all. None of the other interns were hitting me up. Like it was all discombobulated. It was not put together well. I was sitting at my aunt's apartment for 2 weeks. Like, what did I just do? I just quit my job at Apple to move to New York, and now I'm doing nothing right now. So there was a period of time where I was like freaked out. I wasn't sure what was going on. And again, man, the ability and the willingness to say yes and kind of not 100% know what's going on was, I would say, made the biggest life-changing moments for me. And now it's been a lot more chill. I've been working a lot more steady with stuff, but I'm at that point now too where I'm like, look, man, as long as my bases are covered, I'm taking more risk. 80% of what works is going to work, but I'm saving 20% to try new things for sure. Because you never know.
Yeah, and I mean, you take those losses too, right? I mean, that's why you don't put 100% out. That's why it's like, no, it's this 20%. This is the education cost.
You got to keep trying, man. You got to keep trying new things for sure. But yeah, it was, I'm still learning. That's all I can say. I was the kind of guy that when I was young, in my early 20s, in college, dude, I knew everything. You couldn't tell me nothing, bro. You put me in a room full of 15 experts. 15 minutes later, I was giving them tips on how to do their job. Just the worst, dude. It took me just the worst, dude. It took me, obviously, and luckily I learned, because there's some people who just don't learn, man. Some people are like that still to this day. So like you get humbled real quick. And you learn, like the biggest lesson I learned is that I don't know anything, dude. I know a ton, and I know the biggest thing I know is that I don't know a damn thing. For sure. Like always be willing to learn. You know, you got 2 eyes and 2 ears for a reason. You got 1 mouth. So listen and watch twice as much as you speak, man, for sure. So one thing I can say for sure, it's been able to get me. I'm just happier, man. Like I'm super happy, because it's almost like looking back and being like, you know, you used to give your younger self advice, bro. I would have had to sit down with my younger self for sure. It took a while, but I'm definitely much happier. Like looking back and being like, okay, yeah, I'm not as arrogant as I was for sure. I just thought, young kid, like worked real hard and like thought, it's, you think you know it all. You just, when you realize you don't is when your life changes for sure.
That's it. I dig it. Hey man, we're way over time. I appreciate you being willing to hang, but let's get to some of these other questions. I'm gonna switch one up. Actually I'm gonna add one.
Okay. I'm gonna start sweating again.
No. These are good. These are good.
I'm just joking, brother.
Well, I remember when you were out there. I remember me and Mesa were following your posts, and I would be like, dude, did you see what Edo just posted? He just met Busta Rhymes or something like that. He just went in the studio, and so we were living vicariously through you for sure. What were like I know folks don't like to name drop, but this is an opportunity. What were some of like the top 5 folks that you met and places like when you were running with Ryan during those, I guess, 2 years?
I think I already name dropped him, dude. Okay. I think I already mentioned him because that week was the craziest week, dude. It was I'd been on tour and I'd seen a lot of people, but there was this one week where I was like done. I was back home visiting family, and he calls me up like, hey man, if you can make it the flight on Friday from San Francisco to Paris. That week I had spent, like I said, in Paris, dude. We went to Watch the Throne. So Watch the Throne is done. We're backstage. Ryan, he should be there. And I know he should be there. But just like any other human, I could tell he was a little self-conscious, and he's like waiting around. He's like, should we go, man? Like, let's go. I'm like, dude, Ryan, we're already all the way in Paris, dude. Like, wait 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes. Like, give him a chance. They just finished the show. And I remember this vividly. Like, we're chilling. And as we're getting like backstage, I literally physically like run into like, it's like Kanye West, dude, and Kim Kardashian at the time, like both of them, you know what I mean? Like, and I see like, oh, y'all can Watch the Throne, huh? He's like dapping up Ryan. I'm like, okay, that's crazy. We go backstage, we're waiting. This is where he's getting a little bit nervous. Like, yo, should we leave? This, that. I'm like, no, dude, we got to stay, man. Come on, just like hang. And Jay-Z comes out. Okay. Jay-Z comes out and he goes to Ryan. He goes, Ryan, who do you got with you? He goes, oh, just Edo. Because it's just me and Ryan in Paris. Like, he needed somebody to right hand, somebody he could trust, like, to be able to handle stuff while he's out there. So he's like, oh, it's just me and Ryan. I'm sorry, it's just me and Edo. So he's like, all right, cool. They like lift up the rope. We go backstage. And now Jay-Z's tall, dude. I'm not that tall. So Jay-Z is like, what's going on, big dog? Puts his arm around my shoulder as we're walking like to the backstage area. So it's like Jay-Z, me, Ryan Leslie. And he's like, yo, what's going on, big dog? We're walking backstage. I'm like, this is unfucking real. Get back there. They go to like change. They're like, they have a bunch of dope like jewelry and all this stuff. So like they're putting all this stuff away in the like locked safes, putting all this stuff away, getting into like just after show clothes. And I remember sitting there in a circle with, you got to imagine, dude, like it's Jay-Z and then Beyonce and Ryan Leslie and myself and some other girl. I don't know if she's a reporter or what she was, but foolish me, I'm like, and I'm not like I'm like fanboying or anything, but I'm like still like freaking out. But dude, I'm like, hi, like I like to Beyonce, I'm like, hi, I'm Edo, like hi, like give her, like shake my hand, like hi, just like start talking, super casual. And then it took me a while, like it clicked way later on. But like as I'm like chatting with her, Jay's talking to Ryan.
You mean Beyonce?
I mean Beyonce, bro. So okay. Check this out. So mid talking to her, Jay-Z's like, I'm sorry, man, what was your name again? And I'm like, oh, Edo. And he shakes my hand, and I'm like, what a nice guy, dude. Like, wanted to make sure he knew my name. And it clicked like years later. I'm like, oh no, he just checked me, dude. He just made sure. Like it clicked. I was like, you were too friendly with him. You're talking to B. He's like, no. Hey, sorry, man. What was your name again? And I was like, all right, nice to meet you, bro. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, yeah. Bro, gotta be the wildest night. So in one night, literally like Jay-Z, Beyonce, Kim Kardashian, and Kanye West. And we left after that to fly to Birmingham to spend a week living with Jay Electronica, who again, dude, just the most insane shit. And like I said, I've already mentioned it, but like Young Jeezy, but that has to be the craziest, man. That has to be the absolute most insane. I did spend quite a bit of time in studio with Young Jeezy. So that was cool. I got to see them work. the night with Busta Rhymes, DJ Khaled, Fabulous, Ryan, also insane, bro. Like all these people you grew up freaking, listening to, watching on TV, to be able to meet them, insane. Freaking Dubai, The Game, again, Busta Rhymes. Geez, man, it was like an insane amount of people that you grow up listening to, and to be able to like sit there, even for a night in a circle and just like chat and like be in a room where you're seeing this go on. Like it solidified a lot of things for me. It made me realize like, oh yeah, like they're still human. They just worked really hard. They knew what they wanted to do. They had a vision and they worked towards it. And I still to this day believe that, like, as long as you're doing, something's got to give, man. If you're putting work in every day, something's going to give.
In addition to, at least for those folks, in addition to that work ethic, was an insane amount of talent too, right? I mean,
don't get it twisted. Absolutely have to have an insane amount of talent, but hard work beats talent when talent don't work hard. Brother. Absolutely. Like you can have, I would argue that you can have a good amount of talent. You could be decently talented and exceptionally talented. And if you're exceptionally lazy, the decently talented person is going to outbeat you for sure. Yeah, for sure. Again, like, I don't think I'm especially talented or excel in any one particular area, other than I can outwork you. I'll for sure put in the work, dude. Yeah. But no, man, that's got to be the craziest for sure. That week was just insane to me. You know what I mean? You meet a lot of people along the way, but man, that had to have been the most insane.
That's a great story. That's a fantastic story. All right, let's do the other ones. 5 favorite artists.
Easy. Dylan, and Dylan, because he spits hot fire. Next question.
Okay.
No. Let me go on that one. I thought about that one. It's funny. I was like, this morning I'm watching the Ricardo Cortez, and it never would have clicked. He said Roger and Zapp, definitely got to be one on there.
Nice.
I got my talk box right here, dude. This is my talk box too. My DX100. Like always hands, with the way where I can just turn that thing on and get practicing. But dude, Tupac for sure. 8th grade exhibition in middle school. We had an exhibition in 8th grade where you're supposed to write like a 5-page paper and give a presentation. And embarrassingly, still to this day, I found it like in the garage, like years later. I saw the document. My 5-page 8th grade exhibition to graduate 8th grade was a 5-page paper on how Tupac is still alive. Dude, completely convinced as a kid, wrote a freaking 5-page paper on it. And the funny thing is, again, immigrant story for sure. I got an A on the paper. I actually did really well on the written part. What I did not know was when we went to present, your boy was fitted in some all-white Air Force Ones with an all-black velour FUBU tracksuit, sweatpants, and the jacket with the all-white fresh tee. Dude, I got a D on the presentation. I got a D on presentation because when I showed up, every kid in 8th grade had slacks, shoes, a tie, button-up shirt. In my heart of hearts, thought well-dressed, come prepared for this presentation. Dude, I thought that like what I was wearing, my sweatsuit and Air Forces, genuinely thought like that was part of my, like it's gonna, I learned the hard way. I was like, oh, like that's for sure a story. I was like, oh yeah, completely read that entirely wrong, dude. I showed up to a presentation in basically a sweatsuit to give a presentation on how Pac was still alive. Got a D or a C like on the presentation part, but I got an A on the paper, dude. Just because of my appearance, like because of how I showed up. So for sure, Tupac's up there. Roger and Zapp is up there. Because I talk box and that's like my favorite instrument for sure. Jim Carrey.
Nice.
Jim Carrey for sure. Robin Williams. And then I'd probably have to say Nipsey Hussle as this generation's Pac in my mind.
There you go.
5 top artists. Yeah.
There you go. Good. 5 dinner guests, dead or alive.
That would easily be all 4 of my grandparents and my uncle.
Okay. Why your uncle?
He passed away during COVID.
Okay. There you go. My condolences on that one.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man.
Best advice you'd ever get or you've ever been given?
Start and figure it out as you go. But start.
Yeah.
Get started. And that's one thing I for sure struggle with. I listen to that advice, and I do in a lot of areas of my life. And in some areas, I wait. But shit's never perfect, dude. Start, figure it out along the way. The best advice I've been given is get whatever it is you want to do, just start doing it, and you can adjust. You can't fix or alter when you don't know what the base is. So start, and you can always adjust and you can tweak along the way.
Love it. And the last one is who should I have on next? But you got to help me get them on.
Well, let's see. Any one of my line bros for sure. And then part of that, like I'm sure other people have already said Jesse Rizzo. So that's a third or fourth time I'm telling you do Jesse Rizzo too. Raul Leon's good too. Like I said, any one of my line bros, Efren, Lalo, you name them, you could put them on. The Delgados I think would be good. Jose and Armando. Hara as well, my pledge master. Let's do that. I'll help you with any of those.
No, I love it.
That's
I
quite
love
a
it,
bit.
brother. Dude, this was a blast, and I appreciate you being willing to run over. And then like I tell the rest of the folks, man, I it's been a long time since we caught up. I appreciate you, and I hope that this is just the beginning, man. We'll just stay in touch somehow. I got an extra room too if you ever need one. I'm not Ryan Leslie, but
hey man, I got a fold out couch that it's basically like another room in case you're ever in LA, brother. I got you too, man. I appreciate you, dude.
I travel with baggage, fun, bro. Man. I got 5 kids, so
I got you. Listen, man, this has been so much fun. Everyone, just like everyone else's sentiment, dude, thank you so much for starting this. Seriously, this is going to be something that we may not realize now, but you're going to have future generations for sure looking back, dude. They're going to binge watch this like it's a Netflix doc. just you wait, dude.
I hope so, brother. I hope so. All right, man. Peace, and we'll be in touch.
Much love, brother. Thank you so much. Peace, brother.
Until next time, bros. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.